Thank you, Emily. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 2:03 p.m. Our item 2 on our agenda is our land acknowledgement statement. The Township of Hamilton is situated within the traditional territory of the Mississauga, Nishnabek, and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. Our work on these lands respectfully acknowledges their resilience and their long-lasting contributions to the area now known as the Township of Hamilton. Sandra, item 3 on the agenda, the explanation of process for today, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As each application comes forward, the chairman will announce it, and I, as the planning coordinator, will give a synopsis of the planning report. The report is available on our website should you wish to review the whole thing. The floor will then be open to the public. The order of speaking is as follows: those persons in support of the application, those persons in opposition to the application, those persons seeking clarification, and then the applicant will have an opportunity to speak at the end should they desire. Please note that all persons wishing to speak to the application must address their comments and questions to the chair. And we advise that before speaking, you are invited to approach the podium, speak directly into the microphone, and state your name and address so that the record is complete. Following public input, the members of the committee may make comment and ask questions as they deem necessary. The committee may make a decision on the application this afternoon. The reasons for the decision and the impact of public input will be provided by the committee members. Those persons requesting a copy of the notice of decision must do so in writing to myself, Secretary Treasurer of the committee, or you may sign the file sheet that's in the lobby. At this point, I do invite committee members to make sure that their committee name tag is showing to the public. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Sandra. The next item on our agenda is confirmation of the agenda. It has been circulated. Could I have a motion, please? Moved by Mark, seconded by John. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 5 on our agenda. Declarations of pecuniary interest in general nature thereof. Is there anything to be declared today? Seeing none, that shall be recorded. Item 6, approval of the previous minutes. Minutes of the April 11th, 2023 Committee of Adjustment. Can I have a motion, please? Moved by Bruce, approved, seconded by John. Any questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. Seeing no business arising from the minutes, that shall be recorded. We have 2 items on our agenda today. Under new business, we have 2 Planning Act applications, one for minor variance, one for consent for the creation of a lot. First item is our minor variance, A01-23. And it's a minor variance on Sully Road. And I'm not going to read the Ontario Inc., but rather refer to the line connection in this application. Sandra, if you would please read the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Notice of public meeting was circulated to the public on April 21, 2023. Signs were posted on the property on April 19, 2023 in accordance with the Planning Act. The application is seeking relief from the following sections of the zoning bylaw to permit the construction of a single detached dwelling. From section 932B to permit a reduced rear setback of 5 meters where a minimum of 20 meters is required. And the applicant's reasons for not complying with the bylaw. When all the existing setbacks are accounted for, there is no room left to build a house and need connection culvert to the back half. This is vacant land and it is zoned for residential use. The abutting land uses are mostly residential in nature, being to the north and to the west where a subdivision is under development. To the south is a farmer's field and to the east is a vacant field, but that does have a subdivision draft approved on it. The proposal for a new single detached development is in keeping with the provincial policy statement and the township official plan for the Harwood settlement area. Building a house in the settlement area is highly sought after in this area. With respect to the zoning bylaw, the property is zoned rural residential and requires a minimum of 20-meter rear setback. Due to the fact that there's a water course bisecting the property, it does interrupt the normal building envelope of the property. So to accommodate the front setback along the curve of the road, to accommodate the water course that does bisect the property, the proponent is seeking a building envelope pushed to the rear of the property as far as can be, being a 5-meter rear setback instead of 20 meters. This will allow for the construction of a single detached dwelling and attached garage. He has also been in touch with county plumbing department, and they have given positive responses to the proposal. Of course, details will be ironed out when the house is actually built. Agency comments, no one offered any objections to the proposal. I do note that GRCA has reviewed everything and note that various permits may be required. And they do note that crossing the driveway will allow for safe access under this regional storm flood conditions, and the proposed house and septic location are adequately set back from the water course. In conclusion, as the commenting agencies have offered no objections at the and the planning department does support this application, for a reduction in setback to 5 meters. I do wish to draw attention to the diagram on page 8 of the report, illustration number 3. I've done my best to illustrate how the proposed setback, the green line on the subject property, will not impede on the future development of the subdivision lot. The subdivision lot line is in red. The blue line on the diagram is the required 10-meter setback for a principal dwelling in the urban residential first density zone, which is what the subdivision will be at the end of the day. The orange line is the required 2.5-meter setback for an accessory building. So there will be a minimum of 7.5 meters between buildings and a minimum of 15 meters between houses once this subdivision is up and running. So I don't believe there's really any impact to the neighboring properties. As always, committee must satisfy itself that a minor variant, 4 tests of a minor variance are met prior to granting relief. Is the relief minor in nature? Does it maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? Does it maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? And is it desirable for the appropriate development and use of the land? If one test fails, they all fail and relief cannot be granted. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Sandra. I see that our applicant is with us today. And Mr. Lang, you will be provided an opportunity to speak to the application or answer questions as you so wish. Considering the nature of the audience, maybe we could go to committee members and see if there are any questions and give you an opportunity at the end, if that's okay with you, sir. Thank you. Committee members, the report has been read. I guess I should go back to the audience and confirm that there's no one here or online with us in support of the application other than the applicant. Is there anyone here in opposition to the application? Seeing none. Is there anyone here seeking clarification to the application? Again, seeing none. Committee members, I'll just go around the room. John, any questions or comments?
No, I read the report and viewed the site and I'm quite happy with it.
Thank you. Larry? Mark? Bruce? Mr. Lang, we don't even have any questions from the committee at this point in time. Motion. Pardon me? Mr. Lang, I'm being suggested that you might like to add something to the position right now. Thank you, Mr. Lang. We are in formal council room here, Mr. Lang. Could I have a motion, please, that the minor variance application move for approval?
I motion that it meets the 4 tests. It's minor in nature, meets the general intent of the zoning bylaw, the general intent of the official plan, and its appropriate development for the use of the land.
Thank you, John. Do we have a seconder to the motion? Mark? Any questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. And we'll give Sandra a moment to catch up on the reasons that were verbalized in the motion. Going to review the tape. Mr. Lang, you have received your minor variance. As you well know, there is an appeal process and you will receive final notice, assuming no appeals are received.
20 days.
From the notice of decision.
Here's fact, fun fact, it's 20 days from the date of decision for minor variance, it's 20 days from the notice of decision for consent.
I stand corrected.
I'll be sending out notice for this by the end of the week, and the appeal period ends at 4:30 in the morning.
You in a position to move forward, Sandra? Okay, we'll move on to our consent application being B0623. Consent application in the Sherwin Montgomery name. And it's on Myers Road. Sandra, if you would please read the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The notice of public meeting was circulated on April 24, 2023, and the signs were posted on the property on April 20, 2023, in accordance with the regulations of the Planning Act. This application is seeking to sever approximately 16 acres of land with over 550 feet of frontage on Myers Road as new lot creation. The retained cropland has approximately 14.8 acres of land and 460 feet of frontage on McCann Road. The northern end of the property, which is the proposed severance, is within the rural designation, and the south end of the property, which is the proposed retained lot, is within the core area and countryside area Oak Ridges Moraine designation of the official plan. The existing use, there is a farmland with dwelling, detached garage, shed, and a 5-stall barn. Surrounding land uses are residential and agricultural. With respect to the provincial policy statement, it's the opinion of this department, the proposal is in keeping with the policies of the PPS, specifically building on the rural character of the area and the fact that individual on-site services can be accommodated on the proposed property. The existing significant woodland on the proposed severed lot will be protected. The township official plan, again, the northern end of the property, the proposed severed lot is within the rural designation, and the south end is within the core and countryside designation of the Oak Ridges Moraine. A small portion of the core area is intended to be within the severed lands. The rural land use policies do permit developments of rural housing and rural uses. The land use policies for the Oak Ridges Moraine, since the majority of the property to be severed is outside the moraine, it is considered to be a rural designation, a rural severance rather than a moraine severance. Severing in the moraine is basically prohibited. Again, there is a small portion of the land to be severed that is in the moraine, approximately 0.8 acres of land. In my opinion, that's negligible. As the developable part of the proposed lot is definitely within the rural designation and not within a significant woodlot. There is quite a significant woodlot on the property to be severed. It's over 0.5 acres inland. Having reviewed section 8 of the Township Official Plan, which is the natural heritage policies, it is recommended that an environmental impact study be submitted to township's satisfaction. And I'm also suggesting that a scope study is going to be sufficient because this is a minor application equivalent to single severance. And the proposal is located in a previously disturbed area. There's already development fairly close to the significant woodlot. With respect to general development policies in the official plan, section 11, the frontage size and shape of the new lot is appropriate. This will not be strip development. Minimum distance separation calculations have been completed. And the proposed lot is more than sufficiently removed from the existing horse barns in the area. As always, cash in lieu of parkland and certain conditions can be imposed on a provisional consent. This is the first severance for new lot creation from this parcel since the 2003 implementation of the official plan. And the proposed lot is of sufficient size. With respect to the zoning bylaw, the south end of the property, the proposed retained parcel is zoned Oak Ridge Marine Countryside and Oak Ridge Marine Environmental with underlying marginal agricultural visions. The north end of the property is, which is again proposed, is zoned marginal agricultural with an environmentally sensitive area outlined around the watercourse. The marginal ag zone requires a minimum of 5 acres of land and 200 feet of road frontage. The proposal does exceed these minimum requirements. It is the opinion of this department, the proposal would be in keeping with the intent of the zoning bylaw. Agency comments received, building department said no objection. Northumberland County, in summary, they note that the county and provincial policies allow for limited lot creation within rural areas. The Oak Ridge Marine Conservation Plan prohibits severances within designated natural core areas for residential purposes. The county official plan currently permits the development provided that the new lot line does not encroach into the Oak Ridge Marine designation. The proposed lot is sized appropriately to accommodate an on-site sewage system to serve as a future dwelling, and permits are required. Within the letter that was received from the county, I did just, of course, give it the summary, but they do note a number of times that they would prefer to have the proposed lot line adjusted rather than being absolutely perpendicular to Myers Road. They would like it to follow the moraine boundary partway through the lot. So rather than having a perfect east-west line, it would go east-west to a point and then move to the northeast to ensure that the 0.8 acres of core remain with the retained parcel and not be part of the severed parcel. Conservation Authority, they offer no objection. Appears to be sufficient area to construct a new dwelling on the subject property sufficiently set back from all natural hazards. And Hydro One has offered no comments as well. In conclusion, upon review of the application in relation to the provincial policy statement, township official plan and zoning bylaw, and the outside commenting agencies, it's opinion of this department that the application would meet the intent of the planning documents for new lot creation. Although, again, the county wishes to have the lot line adjusted slightly. Should the committee grant provisional consent, it's recommended that the following conditions be imposed. The applicant submit 3 hard copies, a PDF copy, and an AutoCAD copy of a deposited reference plan identifying the newly created parcel. The applicant submit a scoped environmental impact study to the satisfaction of the township, addressing the matters noted in section 8 of the official plan. The applicant provide proof of payment of park levy, $1,500. The applicant provides proof of payment of all taxes. And the applicant provide 3 hard copies of a new deed for stamping within 2 years. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Sandra. We acknowledge that the applicants are with us today, and we will provide you an opportunity in just a moment, but I will canvass the other part of the audience. Is there anyone else other than the applicants here in support of the application? Is there anyone else in the audience in opposition to the application? And is there anyone present seeking clarification on the application? Seeing none, that shall be recorded. I will now come back to the applicants. There's some items within that report that you may wish to speak to, or you may wish to answer questions from our committee. Would you like to have an opportunity to speak at this time, or would you like us to go to the committee and ask questions first? Thank you. I'll start in the opposite end of the room today, or on this application. Bruce, any questions or comments? Mark, yourself?
The readjustment of the lot line. The conservation, Oak Ridge Marine Conservation Plan is very clear about not severing for new lot creation in the moraine. My opinion on keeping the lot line as suggested, as applied for, to me, it's 0.8, if it's less than an acre of land that's going to be discussed. I can see the value of adhering to the Oak Ridge Marine Conservation Plan and the county's wishes. But I really can't see a negative in having less than an acre be part of the severed land. I really don't have a definitive opinion on this particular matter. I'm sorry, I can't really answer your question.
Anything further, Mark?
Should the committee wish to move forward as the application is before them, the county has opportunity to make appeal. It's not their practice to make appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but it is definitely within their right to do so. Given that there are no public comments, I can't see anybody from the public making an appeal on this particular matter.
Larry, questions, comments? Okay. John, questions, comments?
Yes, through you. 120-meter minimum buffer has been identified. Is there going to be any structures that will be within that limitation, 120 meters, or will be away from that wooded lot? Because what I'm getting at is that there you look for an environmental study and then you go knock it down to a scope. And the scope has approximately 1, 2, 3, 4 areas that have to be looked at. So I want to know whether the buildings are going to be close enough to that woodlot to justify an environmental or scope study.
It'll be in, if a house, any building was built on that severed portion, it would be within 120 meters of that woodlot.
Okay.
There's no place else to put it. That's intended.
Very good, thank you.
Anything further, John?
Has there ever been a study done on that environment before?
No,
Okay.
Please, Sandra.
Conservation Authority, in the last paragraph of my report. The purpose of the severance is to create a building lot for residential use, but a building envelope for the severed lot has not been established. However, it appears there's sufficient area to construct a new dwelling on the subject property, sufficiently set back from all natural hazards. On this basis, conservation has no objection to the approval. So I would say, based on this comment and my own review of the documents, a scoped environmental study will be more than likely be sufficient. And we already know that this is the only place to build. It might be at the end of the day, I'm making a guess here, that to ensure that any new house, future house, is removed from the woodlot as much as possible, there may be a minor variance with respect to that southern lot line. But again, that's something in the future that may or may not happen.
Thank you, Sandra. Just a comment from myself, of course, that's a buffer. And that's all it is, the buffer. The feature is to the north. And sometimes when we go to construction a buffer, some applicants have projects that can be impactful on the area. Other applicants will not have projects that's going to impact. I would suggest in 120 meters, there's quite a number of opportunities to get a building site that will not impact. Anything further, John? You were last week. Coming back to the applicants, is there anything you would like to share with us before we move forward with a decision?
just our intent. And our intent is to supply ourselves with an option at some point in the future to build a smaller home on less property so that we can stay in the area and not be overwhelmed, but looking after the existing.
Thank you. Coming to committee, motion, please. Mark. As submitted. Thank you. Seconder to the motion. Moved by Mark, seconded by John. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. I'm going to look around my screen a little bit, kind of half smile here. Normally, we would advise the applicants of conditions and notice of decisions and timeframes. Considering your histories around here, I don't think we need to advise you of that. I'm sure you will be more than aware of that process. So thank you. You have received conditional consent. Sandra, you need your reasons. Yes. John, I think you seconded that. Would you like to add anything to that? Very well, thank you. I haven't packaged up my agenda. I think our next item is other business, and I see none. So our last item on our agenda is adjournment. Would someone please? Thank you, Mark. Meeting is adjourned at 2:30.